and Crown ownership. There you go.
I call the Honourable Minister, Bill
Mr.
English.
Speaker, one has to take what the Labor Party says about asset sales with a bucket full of salt, because if it is their desire that the assets, that all these shares stay in the ownership of the government, then they have had every opportunity to stand up in this House and promise to buy them back after sale. And of course they haven't. Neither the spokesman on SOEs, nor the ubiquitous Mr Cunliffe, or the leader, none of them have promised to buy the shares back when they have the capacity, if they are the government, to go to the market and buy them any day of the week. And Mr Speaker, the member talked about the Maori Party. I can tell that member the Maori Party does a much better job of representing Maori interests than the Labor Party ever did. Because the Labor Party treats Maori, patronises Maori, tells them that they need the Labor Party to look after them, when the Maori Party tell them you can go and buy shares in this asset sale if that's what you want to do, and they believe that Maori can stand on their own 2 feet and make their own decisions. Labor have never believed that and never will. Mr Speaker, with respect to the decision the government made around the delay in the float of Mighty River Power, I will explain the context in which that decision has been made. Mr Speaker, the government has been aware of Maori rights and interests in water since the day it came to office, because these matters have been debated in the Waitangi Tribunal. They've been part of a number of significant treaty claims, and from early on in the life of this government we began discussion and consultation with individual iwi and with representative groups of Maori on their rights and interests in water. When the government announced the policy of partial sales back in January 2011, we were clear then about our obligations as treaty partners to consult on that policy, and that is what we have done. And that consultation has been carried out in the context of a broader, progressive and functional relationship with iwi across the board. And water issues themselves have been dealt with in 3 different fora, or 4 different forums really. One has been through individual claims, and I just want to return to the members' discussion about whether the government would attend a national iwi. I can assure that member, if there's one thing iwi are very clear about in this process, it is that their rights and interests in water are theirs. They do not belong to, nor can be represented by, the Maori Council. The Maori Council have no rights and interests in water, nor can any collective of the Maori Council and or iwi negotiate with the government about rights and interests, because they don't have any. The rights and interests belong to the relevant iwi and hapu, and we negotiate with them about their rights and interests. So, and in the context of treaty claims, that's absolutely clear. The member for treaty settlements has been able to come to agreement with the Whanganui iwi after 150 years of them seeking to have an injustice righted. And I must compliment not just the Minister, but particularly the iwi leadership there, who have grappled with their history in a way that it can only be described as courageous, to come to a conclusion over such long-standing grievance. And that is just one water claim involving rights and interests in water that the Crown has been dealing with. Others are at different stage of negotiation. Tu Whāratua has been referred to, a different sort of claim than Whanganui, complex, a complex claim which leads to some reasonably tense discussion, but able to be advanced in the context of a relationship of respect. So treaty claims have been one way in which these rights and interests have been dealt with. The second has been the Land and Water Forum, where explicit agreement was made 3 years ago with the iwi Leaders Group that they would participate in the Land and Water Forum, which is a broad-based representation of all sorts of groups who have an interest in how the water resource is used. And at the same time, we would continue a discussion with the iwi Leaders Group itself to see if we could find common ground around water rights and interests, as we've succeeded in finding common ground on a whole range of other complex issues, whether it's the seabed and foreshore, the emissions trading system, whānau ora, and the desire for greater social progress among Māori. So that is a third forum in which discussion has occurred: the treaty settlement process, the iwi Leaders Forum, and the Land and Water Forum, in which iwi are represented. Then, of course, there has been the consultation in the last 18 months or so around, formally since January this year, around the partial sales. And in the context of that consultation, the Māori Council has taken a claim to the Waitangi Tribunal. Now, the government has been aware of the fact that at any time, any claimant, in fact, they don't even have to be a claimant, can go to the Waitangi Tribunal or can go to the High Court to test whether the Crown has met its treaty obligations. And the Māori Council has been to the Tribunal and has indicated it will go to the High Court. And if I can deal with the claim in the Tribunal, first can I acknowledge the Tribunal's efforts to accommodate the pace of government policy and government direction on this issue. The second report of the Tribunal makes a number of broad findings which are consistent with the government view. That is, that Māori do have rights and interests in water. The Tribunals found that the Crown argument that the sale of the shares doesn't compromise those rights and interests or the government's ability to settle claims over those rights and interests, the Tribunal actually agrees with the government on that point. What that second report did do, though, was propose a very narrowly specified option which the Tribunal believes are a set of circumstances, I might say a hypothetical set of circumstances, in which the Crown may compromise its ability to settle a claim if a claimant made that particular claim. So it's a hypothetical solution to a claim that hasn't been made, and it's called Shares Plus. In fact, the concepts behind that have been consulted on. The concept being that changes could be made to the constitutions of these companies which would give Māori interests some kind of particular or unique influence over the direction of the company. That was discussed in the consultation around Section 9 back in January. It's been discussed in other forums among officials and in both occasions rejected by the Crown. Nevertheless, as we look ahead to the float and the prospect of legal action, the government has taken the view that we should dot the I's and cross the T's to ensure that the asset sales program can continue having fully and clearly satisfied our obligations as the treaty partner. So the delay allows us to achieve a number of things. One is further consultation on the detail of the proposition that the Waitangi Tribunal put forward. The courts in the past have made it clear the Waitangi Tribunal recommendations aren't binding, but they should be considered. And this is a distinct proposition, so the Crown is going to consider it along with iwi. So we will be setting out over the next few weeks on having issued documents that set out the detail of Shares Plus on a series of hui to consult on that issue. It will also allow time for the legal action, which appears to be almost inevitable, and that is time for, in a more considered way, for the Crown and whoever takes legal action against the Crown to have those matters considered by the court. So, Mr. Speaker, the Crown's consultation as a result of this, that flows from this decision to delay the float, is very narrowly focused on that proposition which has been put up by the Waitangi Tribunal. And it's almost more important about what the rest of the Tribunal's findings, because it essentially accepted that the Crown was recognising rights and interests. We have done that, and has consulted extensively with Māori over the way it's able to proceed with the sales without compromising the ability to settle claims. The member made some reference to going to the national hui, and I've already made the point that no national body holds a right or interest in water. There's another couple of reasons why we aren't trying to make a national settlement prior to a sale. One is because of the uncertainty over what the rights and interests might be at some national level. It's actually the Crown's view that there aren't any. Some Māori hold a different view. Very hard to make a national settlement, which some have been seeking, when it's uncertain what those rights are. And a second reason is it's not clear at all that there's a coherent view among Māori interests about what that framework should be. Mr. Speaker, can I finish by acknowledging and complimenting all the Māori interests that we have dealt with, or almost all of them, on the considered and progressive way with which they have dealt with this issue. Some don't support the asset sales. I must say, as time's gone on, more and more of them want to participate in buying those shares because they see that as a way of expressing their interests, in particular assets. But we have found, with some exceptions, very few exceptions that get more media attention than they deserve, that the rest of them have been positive, progressive, very testing of the government's position, but not unreasonable in the same way as the Crown is not unreasonable. This particular issue is just one more in a collection of reasonably complex issues that the Crown and iwi have successfully dealt with over the last 2 or 3 years. This one is on track. We're crossing our I's and dotting our T's to make sure that the asset sales can continue, because they are important for New Zealand to keep our debt levels down, to have those companies better managed, to have more New Zealanders participate and share ownership and have a stake in the economy of our country. Those are all things that Labor are against. That they want more debt, less ownership, and badly run companies. Actually, that's what they want. However, this is on track, and we have every reason to believe that the sales process will continue in the first quarter as the government has scheduled.
I call the honourable member Russell Norman.